Tomorrow is not guaranteed, and today we live in a world where politics consumes everything we do. The world around us is constantly changing. We have so much information on our fingertips, but sometimes curiosity steers the decisions that we make. Therefore, in a world such as this, or ours, we need to discuss all things politics. We need to understand the purpose of why we should engage in politics and do our civic duties, and why we should be good even when our politics are not inspiring. We know that now and again, and oftentimes, human flaws get in the way of what we do or what we intend to do. But what if our politics is just as bad? Or what if our politics are just divisive, but yet the people want to be good, or the people want to do the right thing? Here in our conversations on this platform, we discuss everything that we can about why politics is important and why we should engage in all of our politics so that we can build the kind of society and the kind of future that we envision. We have to build a future that we like and one that we want. Here we discuss justified politics.
Welcome to Justified Politics Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Ngambi, and today a conversation between my co-host, Richard Elsen in the United Kingdom, and our special guest, who is a female Zambian politician, and she has a diverse background, having been a musician and artist at some point, and having been also a lecturer in academia, teaching political science at the University of Zambia. She is now a leader and president of an opposition political party called the National Democratic Congress. I am talking about no other than Madam Saboi Imboela. She joins Richard in talking about many issues that have to do with the status of our politics today in Zambia, the challenges that opposition political figures and parties face, and what is to be expected in the upcoming elections of August 2026. This is a conversation you don't want to miss. Here on Justified Politics, we want to help you and help all of us understand that politics matter and that the kind of politics that we practice or the things that we do even matter the most. Our conversation today between my co-host and President Saboi Imboela highlights some of the challenges that opposition political parties and leaders and figures face, not just under the current administration, but has been for a long time. I am reminded that it is not easy to do politics in Zambia. Not anywhere in third world countries, not even in the United States of America. However, it's even more harder for our women because of the historical context of where we have come from, and also the cultural context and what society expects of our women sometimes. But we have great examples of women who've done great things in the history of our politics, and currently we're happy and proud to say that our guest is among those women in our time running a political party and engaging in politics. There are a few others that, of course, are involved in politics, and we hope that we can host them someday. We hope that you enjoy this wonderful show today between my co-host and a Zambian female politician of our time. This is Justified Politics.
What's your take on what's happening generally across the opposition parties as we look forward to August and the presidential election? Are the opposition various parties going to be ready to mount a viable challenge for HD?
Yes, I think they will. For me, as early as 2 years ago, I kept on saying that in the next year or two, there's going to be a lot of movement in the opposition. Some people come together, some people break up, they'll reunite, and things like that. Yes, and that's exactly what is happening right now. Alliances were formed, they broke, others reunited in other alliances, others broke again. And now we are in 2026, and people know to say they don't have time. So between now and August, yet again, you're going to see a lot of movements, But with that, yet again, you see some people coming together, and those that will know to say whatever it is, they can't work together. And with that, I think in the next month, actually, just in the next 1 or 2 months, you're going to see a lot of clarity. Right now, with all that movement, the clarity was not there, because one of the things, again, which took away that clarity from the opposition is that the PF being the biggest opposition party, a lot of what happens in the PF was affecting other political parties, So some parties were saying, we're waiting for the PF convention. When they choose a leader, when they go this direction, then this will happen, But everything that is going on there, people know to say, one, they most likely won't have the convention. And two, they seem to have split in three factions or parts, if I should use that word. So once those three parts, or if they're going to be two, when it's final to say these are the parts which the PF has split into, you see that those various parts of the PF again also choose who to work with. So with that, there'll be more clarity in terms of who's where in the next month or two.
Yeah, okay, it's definitely needed. I was looking at this whole Tons Alliance business and what happened the other day there with Brian Mundibile and a number of other PF MPs being expelled from the party. Is that all going? Will he be the candidate? Settle down. What do you think is going to happen there?
With that, is going to be a candidate with one part of the PF. He's going to move away with some members of the PF at leadership level and also on the ground. And Mundubile has been, or rather was, the leader of the opposition in the House. So he did work a lot with a good number of the MPs. That is why just when he started his presidential bid, you saw a good number of MPs also supporting him. A month or two ago, they actually declared that they have endorsed him to be that presidential candidate. So he commands a lot of support from his fellow members of parliament, So there's that. So when he's ready to go with a good number of those, and then we have Makebi Zulu also, who was President Lungu's lawyer, family spokesperson. Yes, even during the funeral, he came out so prominent. He's one person. I'm sure people can see that he has already printed the regalia for the 2026 August elections. So he's ready. Yes, and you can tell that he has just made up his mind.
Yeah, that's at the Congress Party, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And with him, the NCP, National Congress Party, has come out to say they've endorsed him, though he has not accepted yet. Because what the PF leadership is saying, the central committee, is that anybody else or anybody who accepts endorsement from a different a party or alliance which they have not come together to say this is the direction that will go, has effectively removed himself from the PF race and also from the party. So Makebi is being very, very careful. Despite his endorsement, he has not come out to say whether he has accepted that or not. So there already we see Makebi going in that direction. Then we have the other leg now, which is the one led by the current PF president, Mr. Given Lubinda. With him also, at first, I think he didn't have a lot of support because people were saying that being the president, he should be the one to be more or less like the referee. He should not really participate in the elections, but be able to hold the party together and see who takes over the presidency. But we have seen that being at the helm of the party, he has also made up his mind to say he won't let go of the party. He's going to ensure that he stands. So with that, and as time went by, I think we have seen him gaining momentum. So the PF most likely will break in three pieces. One led by Mundubire, who has gone to the Tonse Alliance, the other one by Makebi, and the other one by Mr. Lubinda, Dr. Kambwiri, and the rest of the PF Central Committee that are working together with him.
Okay, yeah, that's really interesting. I think I've been covering Zambian politics for about 15 years, seen a number of presidential elections, and also have seen what happens when parties descend into internal strife and warfare. So, MMD used to be a very strong ruling party, and look at them now. There is a real problem if you have a party that, particularly as you get nearer to the election, falls apart. Now it's probably okay, things can settle down and you can get things moving way before August. But I just hope that unity will be built across the opposition, and that we don't end up, HH would love it if there was big splits right before the election, or legal challenges, which I seem to remember happened with Nevers Mumba at MMD, and that caused all kinds of trouble, really very close to the election. So let's hope it'll be a bit more, calmer this time round.
And, a lot of what is happening in the opposition, by the way, everybody knows that it's being engineered by the ruling party itself. And the successive ruling parties have done that. I think the only party which never did that to the opposition was UNIP, because it was a one-party state at that time. They had no opposition. They had no opposition abuse anyway, But with the second party after UNIP, which was MMD, they did that to the PF itself. There was a time when the Secretary General of the PF at that time more or less like did a coup d'etat on SATA, and the rest of the party, they had to fight and regain control of the PF, At some point, they started engineering propaganda to say it was Tanzania, so can't even stand for the Zambian presidential elections and things like that. So the MMD harassed, abused, or terrorized the PF. When the PF formed government, they did the same to the MMD, to the point whereby the person was a legitimate leader at that time is Dr. Nevers Mumba. He could not even be president. They did a coup d'etat at the Registrar of Societies, and they put in Mr. Mtati to be the president of the PF, and he was the one that really led the PF until when the MMD lost power, and or rather when the PF lost power and the UPND came in. So now, after they lost power as well, the PF, we have the UPND in power, and the UPND are doing the same thing to the PF. Some people are saying it's karma. They did it to MMD, so they should also face their demons. And the PF also, by the way, apart from MMD, they did that to us as NDC. There was a time they even deregistered us. We had to go to court. They registered the Democratic Party as well. The Democratic Party had to go to court. So they've been doing this. When they left power, the UPND came on board and continued that. As NDC, we're even here today only because we've had to fight so many battles. Many times I tell my members to say, I think I'm just supposed to be doing what it is that I'm doing now, because if I do not have the courage, the strength, the passion, I think I wouldn't even be your president, because you have no idea how many times, Richard, I'd be seated at home, I just say something, I have a demand letter coming up, everything they want to intimidate you, they want to scare you off, in terms of businesses, in terms of consultancy. You basically can't even do anything in the country when you lead an opposition political party, because for them it's all about ensuring that they cripple you in all ways possible. They intimidate you. You're in
Yes.
court almost every
Yeah.
day, So with that, you find that some people say, you know what, this is too much, So the ruling parties in Zambia think they don't play fair, So one, they try as much as possible to do a lot of coup d'etats or technical knockouts for the opposition in all sorts of ways. And then
Yeah.
secondly, also to intimidate the leaders so that you get scared and you stay away from what it is they're supposed to do.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also, think about H, and he came to power, came in on a promise of change and on a promise of freedom of expression, and that people could put their point of view politically openly. And under him, people are still being jailed in the way it used to be, when PF were in power. So that always concerns me. And I think the other thing I find really interesting is that when I think about Bill 7, what on earth will happen to UPMD if they do not win the election? Because for me, Bill 7 is a way of keeping power for a very, very long time. I just think it's a very bad piece of legislation if you value democracy.
As well, But I've been telling the UPND, I was even telling somebody just today, earlier on in the day, I was telling somebody to say, one of the members of the UPND, to say, bad laws are the way of outliving the architects of that law and coming back to haunt them, So I was telling him to say, these bad laws that you're making, trust me, they'll outlive you and they'll haunt you. So I gave him an example of the PF to say, if you look at the current cyber law that we have in Zambia, it wasn't started by the UPND, okay? It was started by the PF, But look at the people that are facing the brunt of that law. It's the PF, the same people that made the law, that came up with that law. Right now, the UPND with Bill 7, they're doing everything possible and planning as if they know that they're going to win. So everything being equal, if they won 2026 elections, they're going to use that bill to ensure, which is the act now, to ensure that they prolong power, they abuse the opposition and stuff like that. They have all those numbers in parliament so that whatever law they want to change, they change easily, But once they lose, it will be very, very sad. The current state of politics in Zambia, and according to UPND, they feel that President HH is going to win at presidential level, but most of his MPs and councillors are going to lose the seats. I don't know how they're coming up with that calculation, because in Zambia, people vote what they call suits. So when they vote for the president, they'll vote for the MP from that party and vote for the councillors from that party. So it's a suit, But for them, they're saying most of his councillors and the MPs are going to lose, but the president will win. And with that, they ensured that the Bill 7 itself, or the proportional representation from Bill 7, the proportional seats, which are 40 in number, will be counted from the presidential vote and not the parliamentary vote or just the total vote of each political party. So they've specified that, thinking that President HH is really going to win. What is this? He's going to win with big numbers, But come 2026 August, if President HH won't get the numbers that they think he's going to have, whoever will come up, trust me, to be very, very bad for them, because if, for example, we have a situation whereby the UPND stands, and then it talks about the PF splitting in three parts with the people that are going to work with and stuff like that. The others also who come up, there are people like, let's say, Fred Membe, Harry Kalaba, and others. They come up with their own alliances and stuff like that. If we're going to have, let's say, 3 or 4 strong people standing on the ballot, I don't see anybody getting more than 50% plus one in the first round of the votes, And they've clearly said that, and rightfully so, that the proportional seats, the 40 proportional seats, will be counted from the first round of elections, and not the rerun, because rerun is only two political parties.
Yeah.
So meaning that if they don't get that 50% plus one in the first round, if, for example, UPND gets 40%, already we're talking about him losing out 60% plus the other numbers that would be the 60% of the proportional numbers, which is 40 total, so 60% of that. So the kind of control that they think they will have after elections already, they won't have it, So they plan the constitution, they change it with themselves in mind, And that's a problem that Zambia always has when it comes to constitutionalism. People handle the constitution always with themselves in mind. They don't have that futuristic kind of approach whereby they say, we want a constitution that will stand the test of time, whether it's us or somebody else in power. People should be protected by this. They don't do that. Sadly, they don't do that. And trust me, after August, if UPND does not win, this constitution will come back to haunt them.
Well, I think so. And I was reading somewhere just the other day that many UPND MPs are losing popularity in their own seats because of what's going on with things like the economy and some of the legislation that's coming through, which to me kind of echoes a bit of what you were just saying, how these projected numbers may not be the ones that come through at all in August. So I think it's going to be fascinating. And the other thing about it is, you're talking about the Cyber Security Act or the Surveillance Act that was put in by PF, but they lost, and look what happened. That's going to up this election for UPND and HH, because if they lose, this bill will be a gift for the party that comes in, I think, and that's going to be really hard for. I predicted in our last show, as we get closer and closer to August, everything will really heat up. I think there is going to be all kinds of shenanigans going on. There's going to be this use of cadres and intimidation of opposition figures. There will be trying to cancel gatherings, political gatherings. I wouldn't be surprised if some of these old measures come back in to stop people hearing from their would-be presidents. And we have seen that before in Zambia, so it wouldn't be anything new, but I just have a fear the temperature is going to be hotter this time round than it has been for a long time.
Yeah. Sadly so. That's my fear. That's the fear that many people have out there, because we normally see that when a ruling party knows that it's losing, they become more violent. They get their cadres, they deploy them all over. They want to intimidate people, to harass people, and people get scared. Especially women in the communities, when they see that all these cadres are moving all over, and they're just trying to intimidate them. They stay away, even from just going to vote. They stay away, and that normally benefits the ruling party. So I see that happening quite a lot, actually. The UPND, if there's one area where they succeeded when they formed government, is the area of federalism, because under PF, I think federalism had become too much. Apart from harassing political opponents, the PF cadres would just harass anybody, especially in the markets and bus stations. You are seen wearing especially red T-shirts by the UPND, because these two political parties have been bad enemies of each other. So when they would see people wearing UPND regalia, they'd be beaten up and things like that. So with the PF, it really became too much that one of the reasons why PF even lost power in 2021 was the whole issue of cadreism. So when UPND formed governments, it's one of those few promises actually which they kept, because they had promised to say, when we form government, we're going to stop cadreism. So that's the number one thing which they did. They say, looking at what the PF did and how they lost power, let's ensure that we curtail this. So they have significantly reduced cadreism. It's not 100% gone, but I can say it has been significantly reduced. But we have seen that even them, especially in by-elections. When they see that they are losing the by-election, they have employed some number of what is this? Some violent tactics here and there. They've been able to do that. Yes, and as we get to August, when they see that they're losing power, there'll be a lot of that, sadly. So people really have to be alert.
Yes.
People have to ensure that they protect the votes. And even in places like Southern Province, by the way, where they have the strongest support, we
Yeah.
saw even in 2021, where cadres just going to the polling station and chase everybody else, Zambia does have a very good voting system, one of the best actually in the Southern African region. So when it comes to our voting system, we have confidence in it. It's a good system. However, it's polling station based, meaning that as long as you've got polling agents in the polling stations, it's hard for anybody to read.
Yeah.
And these days with the issue of what is this? Social media. The social media even provides a natural PVT, a voter tabulation kind of
Yeah.
a system of people, yes, able to protect their vote. So as they're counting, people are capturing that on social media. Sometimes they go live on Facebook or they're doing videos. They post on what is this on social media, especially Facebook, which is the most common in Zambia. They capture the Gen Z itself and they share it. So with that, it's hard now for government to go at any level to say at that polling station they got so much, So meaning to read, you have to ensure that there's nobody in the polling station. And we have seen that before in the UPND strongholds where their cadres go in and they chase everybody else. So we don't even know that what, for example, came out from that polling station because there's nobody to check that out. So that also happened quite a lot. And for me, that should be one of the strategies of the opposition to ensure that in the UPND stronghold, you have presence. Even in places where to say here, they may be so strong that the opposition can't win, the opposition have to go there so that they have enough structures and the people to protect the vote so that whatever comes out from the polling station is exactly what they'll get. Unlike where they chase people from the polling station and where they get 20,000 votes, for example, they lie that it's 50 or 60,000 votes.
Yeah. I think a lot be invested into social media, particularly Facebook. And I'm sure UPND probably have hired some advisors already to get planning and start a very aggressive Facebook campaign. I reckon that will definitely be happening. What I think I was looking at some stuff recently about some of UPND provinces where they have been successful before. And I just wonder about, I think it felt to me like some of that support is beginning to ebb because you can look at the economy in Zambia. You can look at, it's kind of, I think people are still feeling more than ever the cost of living crisis. If you look at the price of mealie meal and what's happened to that since UPND came to power, that's gone that way and not that way. If you look at things like energy security, which I think HH promised he would do something about, when is that ever happening? We still have we still have load shedding, lots of it all the time, and I think I don't know. It was that slogan of his, was it like that? Their UPND slogan was "Bali will fix it." You remember? And I kind of feel everyone. I said this the other week. I think that slogan can come back to bite them because he isn't fixing it, and it's not happening fast enough. And he also is a president who is absent a lot of the time, and he has been away from too much. And I know Zambia is nervous if they can't see their president in the country. So what do you think of all of that?
Yeah, you're very right, actually. You're very, very right. The UPND did promise a lot, and they've basically not achieved, or what is this? They have not met the expectations when it comes to the promises that they made. From maybe the promises that they made, I can talk about the cadarism, which I talked about, and the free education. Free education, the free education in the form government, and it's the only thing they did. And even if they promised to say there'll be free education from grade 1 all the way to university, they put from grade 1 to grade 12, which was a starting point, but we are in the fifth year and they have not moved all the way to university. And then the other thing is that in as much as they put free education, they have not put resources in free education. Because when we have free education, it's not like it's free for everybody. It's free for the parents because they're not paying, but somebody has to pay for it. So meaning government has to put resources towards that. When you move around Zambia right now, Richard, it's a very, very sad state of affairs. You find a class where there's supposed to be 50 children, for example, or less. There are 150 children in one class. You have 200 children in one class. So even if a teacher is a super teacher, they can't really teach in such an environment. Even if a student, a learner wants to learn, they really can't learn in such an environment. And sometimes we talk to mathematics teachers and they tell you to say, the whole term I failed to mark. When the pupils write the exercises, I just tell them to exchange books. They exchange and they mark each other. So the teachers haven't been able to monitor the progress of the children because the numbers are just too big. And these children sit on the floor, by the way. We made so much noise for quite a number of years, the first 2, 3 years, and the president had promised to say by the end of 2023, or was it 2024 at that time, he said no child will sit on the floor. But here we are now in 2026 and still move around the country and you find children are sitting on the floor. So even where they have said we are going to do this and they've done it, where they've scored like free education, still it's not being implemented well. So there you have all these failures. When you look at the economy right now, it's in a mess. And people knew a case to be an economist, they knew him to be a farmer, but the economy is in a mess. The farmers are in a mess. The farmers that supplied agricultural produce, for example, last year, up to now, they've still not been paid. And we're coming to an end of the agricultural season. Zambians, especially when it comes to maize, they use the rain season to plant. So they look at October when the rains are starting, all the way to March, April when the rains are completely when they completely stop. So people are really, really worried because they've not collected their monies. Right now, when you go to social media or just mainstream media in Zambia, it's a sad state of affairs because you see all these farmers lining up. I remember I saw this office just the other week in Mwenga itself, where the president himself comes from. The farmers were being told to go to the police, you saw those videos. And there they were, the farmers at the police station. We have seen also horrific videos where farmers are being beaten because they go to these offices and they're saying, our children have to go to school. This is the money that we need to use for this and that. And instead of the police who are there handling the situation better, the farmers are beaten. So from a person who people knew to say our president is a farmer, is an economist, these two areas he has even failed worse than anything else. Right now, I think because it's an election year, the dollar is coming down. Okay, when the UPND formed government, the dollar was at about 17,000 kwacha. If I remember correctly, yes, at 17 kwacha, and most of the time, the past 5 years, it has been at 29, 28, 27 kwacha. And now we're in 2026. And now the dollar, as of today, it went all the way to 18 kwacha. So just how, just how does the dollar again gain strength by over 10 kwacha in such a short period of time? Very, very shocking. So you can tell that all these things are artificial. And the third part again, Richard, is that when the dollar goes up, everything else goes up in terms of commodity prices. But when it comes down, nothing comes down with it. You find that when the dollar the dollar goes up by just 2 kwacha, everything goes up. But now the dollar has come down with more than 10 kwacha, and nothing has gone down.
Yeah, well,
So all this, that yes,
it's very interesting you
yeah.
said, because I read again recently, HH was
Mhm.
saying that his economic reforms will lead to lower prices, and that producers will pass on savings to the consumer. That's just not happening, is it?
It's not at all. It's not at all. So
Yeah.
sad. And when they form governments, there's the JCTR, the Jesuits Center of Theological Reflection. They normally come up with what they call the food basket every month.
Yeah.
So when UPND formed governments, the food basket of a family of five was spending about must have been 8,000 kwacha per month. Right now, it has gone all the way to 11,000 kwacha per month. And
Yeah.
even the reduction or the gaining of strength of the kwacha, we have not seen the food basket going down. It's still at more than 11,000 kwacha for a family of five per month. Then, like I've said, you go into almost anything and everything when it comes to buying commodities, buying food, buying everything. Nothing has gone down. So what exactly is happening? And also, they're not really explaining to us because it has become more like development has become a secret all of a sudden. Because the government is supposed to explain to us, for example, what is happening when it comes to the kwacha versus dollar. Why have we gained so much? We know that Zambia we are such a consuming nation. We don't really produce much. Almost everything we import in this country. And we've been complaining to say, can we be productive? Can we export so that we make forex for ourselves? And that really has not happened very well. Even in areas of the mines, there's so much of the mines being in foreign hands and not that kind of collaborative effort whereby you have foreign investors partnering with the Zambia so that you have a win-win situation. You have these multinational corporations coming in, getting almost everything, and the money is externalized. So instead of a bit of money remaining in the country so that we strengthen the dollar, the kwacha itself, we have that ripple effect whereby even the person who's selling something on the street will be able to benefit from those that are working and gaining money from the mines. It hasn't been like that. So when suddenly we have this kwacha strengthening like that, it's very shocking. And they're not telling us how this has happened, because if it has happened in a normal way, where number one, people become more productive, or number two, maybe the tax holidays they gave to the mines, they've been withdrawn, or number three, maybe there's a bit of sharing which is happening when it comes to our mines or taxes or whatever. If they would say that, even us would even encourage them as opposition to say, can you please continue in this path so that this money that you have been able to make and the gains that we are feeling, the economy being able to make, please continue on this path. But 1 minute, the dollar is 29 kwacha, the kwacha rather is 29 kwacha to the dollar. A few days later, or weeks later, it's at 17, 18 kwacha to the dollar. It doesn't make sense, and nobody really knows what is going on at the moment.
Today's show is sponsored by Lysero Skincare Products. This is not your ordinary skincare products that you see at the market. These are very special and unique skincare products that I've seen many people use and do wonders for them. I encourage you to reach out to Lysero Skincare Products and see if you can make an inquiry or find out what kind of products can work for you and for the kind of skincare that you want to have. So reach no further, call or text or even email Lysero Skincare Products. The email address is lyseroskincare@yahoo.com. Call or text 0976 2656 299 or 0979 298587. This is Valentine's Week, be sure to get a gift or a present for your partner or your friend or your significant other, boyfriend, your girlfriend, or even your husband or your wife. And I think Lisa Rose Skincare Products just knows exactly what you should get for your partner. So be sure to call them and find out what they have in store.
When it comes to resources, when it comes to negotiations, always go for something which is better or best for your country. Zambia owes China the highest amount of debts, you know. So our debt to China being paid in dollars, I think it's very stressful for our economy. And the way the kwacha is so unstable, you know, next minute you're borrowing this money at maybe let's say you have maybe let's say $2 billion of debts. In the next 2 3 years, that $2 billion, the way our country is unstable, it can be something like $5 billion. You know, but if it's in the Chinese yuan and the amount remains the same and able to pay in the same currency, I think it's really best for us. That I'll be very honest with you. It's best for us.
Yeah,
and
I was going to ask you that in connection with the US dollar and its position as the reserve currency and how that is under pressure. And we know that HH has really courted the Americans. Is that going to cause, can you really have mining taxes paid in yuan, so being closer to Chinese, and have a proper good relationship with the Americans? Can you ride two horses at the same time?
The bad part also about the HH stroke UPND foreign policy is that it has really been non-existent. You know, Zambia's foreign policy actually is normally abstract. You know, it's not really, a lot of things are not really in black and white and things like that. There are few things which have been consistent, like the non-alignment on certain positions, the good neighborliness, you know, things like that. But when it comes to the East and West relations, I think Zambia has always been very clear in terms of how we do our business there. You know, so for UPND, I think for me, when they came in, they really chose sides because Zambia, from Kaunda to now, our position has always been non-aligned. You know, I'd rather have both as friends and not one as a friend and one as an enemy. You know, when they formed government as UPND, they really aligned so much to the West. You know, they aligned to the West, and we advise as opposition, for example, to say they are both our friends. Don't make this a mistake. For almost 2 years, they did not even have an ambassador to China. Are you getting the point? They didn't have an ambassador to China. He didn't move to China because people in the country were advising him, including us, the opposition, to say these are the people that we owe the most debt to. So you can't really do a proper debt restructuring without involving China in the whole process. And they didn't hear that, you know. So at some point, we could tell that China also was really tightening things here and there. So we found ourselves in a very a precarious situation whereby certain things could not just move because of the way the debt was. The restructuring could not go in a certain way. Yeah, you remember the whole issue of a haircut where they were saying China should reduce the debt. You know, why should China be the only people to suffer the haircut and nobody else does the same thing? You know? So all those things became very difficult. And with that, now we saw UPND and the president, or now let me say Zambia, because they're making that as a Zambian position, going east.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I totally take on board what you say. But I have been interested in this fascination with America of this administration, and also, I understand that there have been sort of unscheduled visits from people from the Donald Trump camp into Zambia. And I think I heard that like Ashton Kutcher came with his family and said, well, he's here for a holiday. I don't know about you, but I tend to think that when you have senior people from the Republican Party and Donald Trump coming in, they're usually doing it to get some interest for America to bring back home events. So anyway,
I couldn't hear that.
I was going to say, I think we're getting to a point where we're due to wrap up soon, but I was going to ask you about your music career, because I was saying to Erin, you know, I'm old enough now that for me, Zambian music was Zam rock and that witch and you know, all that kind of Jimi Hendrix guitar going on. But then, of course, you were doing your career there in the 90s, weren't you?
Oh yes, I was. I mean, Zamrock. We listened to the Witch, you know.
Yeah, I love
all those guys. Yes, there's an American artist actually who is it Cedric the who is this something the entertainer who has actually sampled one of the song by the Witch. Very beautiful song. Yes, yeah, by the Witch or Pongos, one of the two actually. So. I think they'll bring back some of those vibes. When I find the song, I'll actually send it to you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, so from there, I think after that whole era of Zambian music, we had two records which had left the country, and with that, Zambian music really went down. You know, it went down, and for a long time, Zambians were listening to Congolese music, South African, American, and not really local stuff. Then we had a company called Mondo Music that came on board, and that's where a good number of us were assigned. You know, so there was that renaissance of Zambian music yet again, and people really loved the music, and we wrestled back the listenership from strictly international music to back home. I remember one of our songs called "The Gentleman," which is a gentleman. But we put it in Zambian with gentleman. Being a Tonga song and a local song on the top 20 charts, it became the first Zambian music at the song at that time to be number one. Because the way the charts were, they were just open to all music across the world. And no Zambian music would be number one for a very, very long time. So when we produced our music, it was like number one, and it was there for many weeks. Apart from that, the first album itself, we got nominated for the Kora Awards. And yet again, no Zambian had ever been nominated to the prestigious Kora Awards, which were African awards.
Incredible.
So our music, yet again, yes, we were nominated for that. We won Best Album. You know, we just won so many awards that first year. The second year we did the second album, yet again, so many awards that we won with that as well.
I bet you miss it a bit, don't you? I would. Okay. You didn't have to answer that. Okay.
Not really. That's a bit of yes, but not really. I think we have really always been an advocate, whether I am singing, whether I'm a lecturer, whether I'm doing NGO work. I came from the NGO sector as I got into politics, even as a politician. In everything I do, I'm just this advocate. I hate seeing something going wrong. If something is wrong, I'll speak out. I'll work hard to ensure that that thing is corrected. I did that in music. There's so many things I did. For example, in Zambia, musicians always thought that you can only sing in two languages, which is Nyanja and Pemba. But when we came on board, I remember being at the studio, people were saying, "No, you can't sing in these other languages." And I was like, "You can't say that because these two languages you're saying we can only sing it. They're not even one of mine. You get the point. What about my own language? I'm a Lozi. I'm from the western part of Zambia. What are you saying about this?" So I did that. The Gentleman Part song is from the southern region. We were basically singing from all parts of the country. and
Wow.
that became also something that people loved about us. And after our album, almost all albums that came after us from Mondo, they started employing that kind of language balance in the songs. And I got to write a good number of songs for many artists. And I think up to now, no woman has beaten me when it comes to songwriting. I still remain, I think, the female artist that wrote the most songs for other artists, you know. So I wrote quite a number of songs for many artists. And once in a while I sing, by the way. Yeah, it's a family function or it's Women's Day or whoever, they force you to sing. So I don't really miss it because I still sing. And you know, politics is 90% singing as well. So when you go to campaign, we are singing.
Of course, yeah. Thank you very much. Really enjoyed it. Really great. And good luck. Yeah, be great to see you.
I really appreciate this and all the best to both of you.
Thanks so much for coming.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.